guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is the first video in a series that I'm starting this year, and I'm really excited to start this series. It's going to be called A Book and a Look, where I come to you with a two-part video. First part being kind of like a book review style video, so there will be spoilers, just so you know, because I'll be talking about the plot, characters, stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. And then second half of the video will be a makeup look inspired by this book. I've already filmed the makeup look, and well, you'll see. It's definitely something. It's not at all what I wanted, but it's a learning process and it's fine. But we'll get to that later. I just want to take a quick second and introduce myself before I jump into it. My name is Haley. Here are my socials, and this is my realm of creativity where I mainly focus on makeup and fantasy related things. So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing and becoming a companion on my makeup quest. And I highly suggest you go follow me on my socials to be notified of when I upload. Now let's get into the video. The very first book that I read this year, I read it fairly quickly. It was a very short book, and I didn't know that it was a children's book at the time. I wouldn't necessarily call it like children's, like Jeannie B. Jones like level. It's more like series of unfortunate events level, like middle school-ish. The title is called The Serpents Secret. It's by Sayatani Dasgupta, and I am praying that I say that correctly. I couldn't find a pronunciation on Google. So I'm hopefully that's correct. Who is also a doctor. She's a physician. And I think that when I found that out, I was like, what? She's a writer and a physician? Like, when does she have the time? Like, does she ever, breathe? That is just, it seems so time consuming. And I was just really inspired by the fact that she could do both, because I can barely do anything. Another aspect of this book video idea was that I was going to be doing female authors only, and kind of showcasing them as well as female authors in fantasy. I really enjoyed this book. It was really fun and inviting, and inviting you were part of the story, because it wasn't completely fantasy. It did have an element of real life in it, and the author, she took a lot of inspiration from her own experiences. So I'm going to start with the plot and go from there. The opening is narrated by the main character, Kieran, or Kieran Mala, and it is her birthday, which is also on Halloween, and she makes this big deal about a consistent thing that her parents have said through her entire life, and they've always called her a real Indian princess and have always made her dress up as one for Halloween for her birthday. And she goes to school and then comes back, and her parents are gone. And she doesn't really think too much about it, except that she realizes that her house has been kind of torn up. Starts to think that something has really happened to her parents. Here's this, I'm a little fuzzy because I finished this book probably 3 weeks ago. Like I said, I finished it fast. I read it from the 5th to the 13th, and today is the 30th or the 31st. Can't remember the date, but it's been a while since I've read this book. We'll just say that the demon comes first, and Rakush, which is a type of demon, is in her house and is chasing her. And then she goes out to her front lawn, and there are two princes, or two boys, and thinks that these two boys are super cute, Nilkomo and Lalkomo. She says that it was weird because those were the words for, I think it was red and blue, and they were wearing red and blue. She just was like, what is the odds of that? What are the odds of that? They arrive on flying horses, and they realize that she's being chased by a Rakkush. And Rakkush are they're funny. I think that they're hysterical. They always rhyme in the book. I don't know if that is a part of the lore that she decided to take from Indian lore. But they always rhyme in the book, and they're just silly and funny to listen to. I have to preface, I didn't actually physically read them. I have Audible. I'm working towards my Audible sponsorship. So I listened to it, and the narration is hilarious. I'm sure if you were reading it, like, physically, you would still think that they were funny. Any time that they were narrated, I cracked up because they just say such nonsensical things. They're always talking about eating people and eating feet, which is just weird. Lau Kamo gets knocked out when they're fighting the Rakkush, protecting Kieran. And Neil defeats the Rakkush. He doesn't kill it, but he defeats it. And then Lau wakes up and they go on their merry way. Right off the bat, you know that they were here to save Kieran. And it's unclear as to why or how they know who she is or how they knew that she was in danger. And so they take her to the kingdom of Beyond 7 Oceans and 13 Rivers, which is where they say she is from. She doesn't believe them, which, I mean, nobody ever believes them when they have a secret identity hidden from themselves for years and years, and they're like, no, you're really like this, person from this alternate reality or alternate world or whatever. Nobody ever believes it right off the bat. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever. But Kieran goes with them because she knows that her parents are missing, and that's really all she cares about. And they say that, well, they are back in the land beyond 7 Oceans and 13 Rivers. They go to this mountain, which is like the border between the worlds, and she goes through. She has an interaction with a transit officer, which I don't believe is a Rakkush. It's like an amalgamation of a bunch of animals, and I'm not positive if it's a Rakkush or not, but it was just like a weird description. It was like, I think, dog and chicken and lion and something else. I don't know. That scene was strange, but funny, and we kind of get introduced to this theme of wordplay, which I think is really cleverly used in the book, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like the scene in The Hobbit where Bilbo is under the mountain. It's like a bunch of riddles. It's kind of like that. So the transit officer asks Kieran a bunch of riddles. She answers them all correctly, so she gets to go past, and that makes the transit officer mad because she answered them correctly. A chase ensues. She outruns them and goes into kind of like the equivalent of like an airport terminal with all like a whole bunch of restaurants and shops and stuff like that. Then she eventually finds Lal and Neil because they went in a different direction when they got to the border because they had identification papers, which she did not. So they had to split up. They're reunited and they go on their way, continuing their journey to the Prince's Palace. Before Kieran is presented to Neil and Lal, they stop at the stables to drop off the horses, and there's this kind of rule that's spoken about Neil and Lal always needing to stay together. And it's not really clear why at the moment. Lal really wants to stay in the stables with his friend, who is the daughter of like the horse master. So she's a little lower class, and Neil really tries to fight this. He's like, no, we're really supposed to stay together. And Kieran's like, he's, grown. They're all kind of 13, 14 age. He can hang out with his friend, it's fine. And Neil's like, no, you don't understand. We always have to stay together. And she's like, it's fine. And so they end up splitting up, and Lal stays with his stable girlfriend. I don't remember her name. I should have written it down, but I don't have it written down. After that, Neil takes Kieran to the palace, and Kieran gets... Oh. Rewind. At the stables, another thing is established, that when they get to the stables, they knock on the door, and they say, "Can we enter?" Horsemaster, daughter, friend, says no, but opens the door. So there's like an establishment that Neil tells Kieran that you can never tell somebody that they can come in. Like, that can never be said. So that was kind of like it's like a weird vampire rule. Like, you can't invite anybody to enter. That it's just not something that can be said. Fast forward back to where I was going. Neil and Al split up, and Neil takes Kieran to the palace, and Kieran wants to freshen up before she sees the king. And so she's in the bath and with the servant, and they get on the topic of Kieran being a princess. In the scene, the servant isn't in the direct room with Kieran. She's kind of talking through a partition, like a door. Something kind of changes in her voice, and she's telling the story of Kieran, and what we learn is that Kieran's parents aren't actually her parents. Her parents are the Serpent King and the Moon Goddess. And the story of the Moon Goddess coming down to Earth and falling in love with the Serpent King. And when she comes down to Earth, she realizes that all of the children that she is bore and unable to take with her, up because she's the moon. When she comes down to Earth every full moon or whatever it is, I can't remember, she realizes that her children have been turned into snakes, and that hurts her. So she hides Kieran away with her parents that took her to New Jersey. And so we find that out, and as the story is coming to an end, the servant girl, whose voice kind of changed, asks, "May I enter?" Kieran, still not very accustomed to the rules, says yes. And then things start to pick up. The woman that was replaced was actually Neil's mother, who was a Rakush. She was a Rakushi queen, and she was banned from the kingdom. All of a sudden, Neil comes in with the original servant and realizes what has happened and that his mom is now in the kingdom. They try to stop her, and a fight kind of ensues. She gets away from them because she realizes that Neil and Malcolm are not together anymore. And so she goes and she finds Lau, and they are trying to beat her there, but they don't. When Neil and Kieran get to the stables where they left Lau and his friend, they realize that they're gone, and they just see Neil's mom in the middle of the stables on top of a haystack and just like burping. And when she burps, Kieran sees inside of her like digestive system, and it's like solar systems. It's like the stars and black holes, and she has acid reflux from eating a prince, and she burps up. I know the sentence I just said made no sense. But she was talking about having
acid reflux from eating a prince.
And so she burps up these two gold and silver balls, like orbs, like bowling balls. Then I think she disappears. And so they take the balls, which end up being the stable girl and Lau, and take them to the court, and the king has to, get his brother back any way that he can. So Kieran go to Tuntuni, which is the bird advisor of the king, and he's a talking bird, and he talks in poems and riddles, much like the transit officer. But Tuntuni gives them a poem of how to get Lal and the stable girl back from being orbs, and how to save Kieran's parents. And they end up needing a way to figure out how to get to it was some mountain. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was a land and like a mountainous region of the area. But the regions of this world shift, and so they needed a moving map. And without knowing it, Kieran had one. It was that blank piece of paper that her parents left her. That was discovered. They realized that it was a moving map, but there's only a couple ways that they could read a moving map. And one of them was to read it through the light of a python jewel. So that meant that they had to go to the Serpent Kingdom, which is the kingdom of her father. And so they get there, and there's like a whole bunch of snakes, like snakes. Like snacks. That's snacks. And they are nocturnal, so it's daytime, and a portal opens up in the lake that leads underground to the snake kingdom. And so they go down there, find a python jewel, get caught by Kieran's brother. Kieran's brother is a huge snake with a bunch of heads. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, honestly. Kieran's brother takes her and Tuntuni and Neil to the court of her dad, and her dad is trying to capture her and kind of puts her in a trance. And then who was it? It was either Tuntuni I think it was Tuntuni, who took this vial that Neil had gotten from the little one of the shops from airport terminal area of the border. Earlier in the story, he got a vial of a tree shadow. This witchy woman captured a shadow of a tree. Tuntuni opens the vial and releases the shadow, and the shadow grows into this tree. So this tree is growing upwards under a lake. And so Neil grabs Kieran and grabs Tuntuni, and they kind of ride up this tree that's expanding, breaking through the surface of the lake and helping them escape. Other snakes are just trying to escape. They're not going after Kieran or anything. After that happens, Tuntuni dies, which is sad, but we find out that Kieran's tears are magical Kieran tears, because of the moon. She doesn't believe it at first. She's trying to do bird CPR on him, and nothing works, and he doesn't have a heartbeat. And then she's holding him in her arms, and she's crying, and some tears fall down, as tears do, and they hit the bird, and he coughs up water, and he lives. She doesn't really equate that to having magic tears yet, but it is acknowledged in the book that she has magical tears. And Neil says something, and she kind of brushes it off. After they escape and Tuntuni lives, they read the movie map, and they realize that they have to go through Demon Land to get to where they need to go. So they go to Demon Land. Demon Land is described as being really polluted. It is the woods and landfill all in one. They're just broken TVs, plastic bottles, half-eaten things, just stuff hanging from trees and everything. It's just a really garbaged land, and that's demon land, and they get chased by a different kind of demon to a house, and they have to trick these demons because these demons are really stupid. Like Rock Kush are dumb, but these demons that they're being chased by that aren't Rock Kush, I think they're Kukush, Rock Kush, we'll go with that. They dumb as nails, stupid. So they have to trick them into thinking that they are Rock Kush behind the door. And so they stick out arrows to pretend that those are their nails under the door, and they are like, oh, such pointy nails. And then they have to, I can't remember, they do 3 things because they keep asking them questions. They're like, well, if you're really a Rock Kush, then what is your spit like? If you're really Rock Kush, then let me see your talons. If you're really Rock Kush, there was another thing that they asked, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but they did the arrows under the door, and then there's these oil lanterns that they threw the oil out the door and out the windows as their spit. And they eventually convince them that they are Rock Kush and not to mess with them, and they run away. So after that, then they go to Neil's grandma, the Rock Cushy Queen's mother, and she's funny. They have to convince her. She has really bad eyesight and really bad hearing, but she has really good smell, and so they have to trick her into thinking that Kieran is Lal, because if Neil and Lal are together, she will help them. If she realizes that it's not Lal with Neil, then, and it's just some human, she'll eat them. So they need to convince her that Kieran is Lal. They convince her to take them to the edge of Demon Land, and she does. And then you meet Albert Einstein, the mountains. It's part of the poem that Tuntuni, oh, I've got to sneeze. It's part of the poem Tuntuni said at the beginning. They get to it was something about a golden bird sitting on a branch, and the golden bird was Albert Einstein. And then he is teaching this class of stars. It's a weird scene. Probably this half of the book, I was like, okay, what's happening? I was kind of getting, not annoyed, but like, I didn't feel like this section of the book served as much purpose as the other sections. Like, it was just a really small section. I guess it was because it was too small and not enough happened, because you're just with Albert Einstein and he's in an outdoors classroom with a bunch of stars and they're singing a song, and then all of a sudden the balls that they're carrying around, which are Neil's brother Lal and the little stable girl, they start to glow and get really hot and larger, and one of them turns into a white dwarf, and the other turns into a red giant and starts tumbling down the forest, and they stop. They just stop. Though that leads them to this well where Kieran's parents are supposed to be. Kieran's parents are supposed to be at a well where demons are born on the full moon, which was about to happen. They needed to figure out how to get her parents out, and she, much like she has throughout the entire book, uses her wits of wordplay to figure out the poem and its meaning at the end. So she takes these rocks that she had that were covered in salt, because the answer to the riddle was salt, and she puts them in the well. And then the well overflows with water and explodes, and her parents are free. But also, there's a new baby rock kush who talks like this. Why won't you let me eat you? Like that. It's so weird. But it doesn't rhyme yet because it hasn't gone to rock kush school to learn how to rhyme, which was weird, and it was an interesting little touch. Like, you would think that they just innately just come out just rhyming, because it just sounds so strange that it just feels natural for them to do. So when you find out that it's actually taught, it's just kind of a nice little touch of storytelling. And then they have to run because there's a rock kush chasing her and her parents. It's not a huge like reunion or anything, because they're gonna get eaten if they don't, hightail it. They make it to the edge, right where the border of the demon land and the mountains were, and they see that it's changing. And right as it changed, Karen's mom gets snatched, but she manages to make it out, and they make it to a ferry boat that is sailing across this ocean, and they are scot-free. They are, done with their journey. Or are they? While they're reunited with Karen's parents, they still have two balls of people. Those two balls, the silver and the gold ball, that went back to normal. They get sucked down into a whirlpool that was created by the mouth of that rock cushy baby. And they get sucked down into like this rock cavern at the bottom of this like ocean, then realize that it was actually Kieran's dad who had helped the rock kush baby trap them. And then Kieran, there's like this battle sequence as you can get in a kid's book. She sees a reflection of her mom, the moon goddess, in the water, comes into her own as acknowledging her parts of herself as a whole. Because this whole time she was kind of in denial of like who she was and how she was supposed to save her parents, and she really just came into accepting that, yes, I am the daughter of a serpent king, but I'm also the daughter of a moon goddess, and that really kind of unlocks her powers. To me, it was kind of like a soft magic ability. It was like light, and she defeats her father, chats with her mom in the water, and they run away because they're being chased by the baby again. And this baby's like huge. It's not like a tiny little rock kush baby. It's like, please let me eat you. It's a huge thing. So they get away, and then they make it back to the kingdom. I'm pretty sure. I mean, they make it back, and they're like, we still have to figure out how to get Lal and the stable girl from being an orb. And Toon kind of helps them realize that they're staying an orb on purpose, because they aren't really supposed to be friends. They always struggle to hang out and spend time together because of their status difference. They can spend time together because they're orbs, and nobody is telling them that they can't. They get the king to promise that Lal can be friends with the stable girl, and then they plant balls and they go to sleep, and then they come back and there's a tree, and in the tree is Lal and the stable girl, and that is pretty much the end. There's a festival of, yay, we did it. We saved my parents, we saved your family, and There's just a little party at the end, and Neil and Kieran, after having journeyed across a whole bunch of places together and going through dangerous situations together, they obviously have a crush on each other, and you know that throughout the book. They end up asking each other on a movie date, and it was just so sweet and innocent, and Kieran had never had like a boyfriend before, and I don't think that they kiss. It was just a nice, innocent sort of feeling to hear them talk to each other like awkwardly, and they were like, yeah, like, kid stuff. Then that was the end. I know that there are a couple other books in this series. I don't know if I'll get to them right away, but I'll probably end up reading them anyway because they were just such a nice book to read. It was just fun and whimsy, and you were laughing every single second you were listening to this. It wasn't, even the serious parts were undercut a little bit with some sort of humor or lightheartedness, and I really liked that it wasn't so heavy, but it was also suspenseful when it needed to be. Like when Chun Chuni died, you thought that he was dead, and so you just get a mix of emotions, but it's always balanced and it's always lighthearted, and I think that it was a really good book to start my year with. I'm also gonna go over some notes, author's notes with you, because I think that this book offers an interesting perspective and an interesting take on children's stories. Now, I don't know if I mentioned before, but the author is a daughter of an Indian immigrant family. She's first generation, and she really drew on her own experiences as a immigrant daughter and having to accept that identity, and a lot of stories that she had growing up with when she would go over to Bengali, India in the summers. Like, her aunts and her grandma would tell her and her cousins stories going to bed, and a lot of the characters, a lot of the substance, not like everything, but a good chunk of it was reinvented from those stories that she grew up with. Chun Chuni was a character, she said, a 1907 book by Taco Marchuli, and there was a collection of Taylor Bird, I believe that's what they were called, tales, and Laukomo and Nilkomo and Kiramala. They all existed in a sort of collection of stories as well. They didn't ever meet in those stories. They still kind of existed, as well as the Rakush. Those are real Indian demons, and they are everywhere in Indian lore and Indian stories. They're everywhere, and I think that the story just did such a beautiful job of bringing a vibrancy to children's books that I personally didn't grow up with. It was a beautifully told story. She also has a lot, like, I learned a lot about Indian culture, about there was just food from there, clothes from there, music, instruments, just colors, clothes. If I didn't say clothes, I think I did. You were learning without realizing that you were learning, because it is given to you like a children's story. It is given to you like a fantasy story, but it has a lot of roots and grounding in real culture. I loved this book. I'm speechless with the storytelling that I heard and the humor that I heard. I if you guys have Audible, I highly suggest listening to this book. It's hilarious and it's a very, very fast read. I think I read it in a week, and that was when I was just listening to books in the morning. I think it's like a 6 to 8 hour book. It's a really fast read and it's a really entertaining read. I hope you guys like this story book and a look kind of video that I'm hoping to do. I just really love reading and I really love makeup and I love melding things together when I can, and I'm really excited to get this on a roll. And that's really all I have for you about the Serpents Secret. If you guys want me to do the next book in this series, please comment down below, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next half of this video. I'm trying not to emote too much because I'm afraid my brows will lift. I've never done a brow cover in my life, and this is the very first one. You're witness to it. I didn't film it because I didn't think that was interesting, and maybe I'll film it when I get better at it. Today is the second half of a video. I haven't filmed the first half yet. I just had the energy to do my makeup for the second half. And so if this goes poorly, then I'll just keep it a part 1 and I won't have any like mess ups speaking, referring to the other half of the video if I speak and say, oh, in part 2, I'm filming part 2 now, so if part 2 doesn't go well, I won't say that tomorrow. Thinking. Part 2 of a series that I'm starting. This is going to be the first one. I think I'm going to name it Book and a Look. So it's basically going to be a book review, and then this half, the second half will be a makeup look inspired by that book. The book that I've already told you about is The Serpents Secret, and I wanted to do a look, Rakush. I wanted to do like a demon from the book, but I didn't have any prosthetics, and the demons in the book have a lot of teeth, have a lot of horns. They're very, not gory, but they're very ugly, and I just didn't have the prosthetics to do that, or I just didn't have a look. I couldn't come up with a makeup look that I felt would be demonish enough. So I decided to go with a moon goddess inspired makeup look, and hopefully it works out. Like I said, if it doesn't, you won't see it. I've never tried anything like this before. My hair is slicked back with some gel. We're not gonna look at the back of it. We're just gonna jump right into it because it's ambitious. It's an ambitious look. I've never done anything like it before, and I don't know how it's gonna go. And after this, I'm just gonna go shower. Kieran's mother is a moon goddess, and I wanted to not do like an exact Indian mythology moon goddess inspired, but just do kind of my own take on a moon goddess. I have, as you can see, I've been experimenting. I don't know how much I'm going to talk about what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I know I have a plan, but I don't know application-wise what I'm doing. I got this recommendation of Gina Birch, and I have been playing with it. Obviously, I have like gouges in the green, and I'm okay. It's not easy at all, and I don't really know. I've been trying to do research the best that I can, and I'm just not finding. I found one person review of this product, and I'm taking the black, and I'm going to start going around the perimeter of my face, and I thought it was going to be more opaque, and I don't know if I'm even applying it the best way. Like, I didn't try it with a sponge last time because my sponge, I only have like 2 sponges, and I didn't want it to dirty my regular makeup sponge, and I don't really clean my sponges a whole lot. I'm going for like an androgynous kind of moon spirit. I'm not trying to look super like human, but not also super like alien or fantasy, I guess. And I just want to make sure that like my hairline is really dark. I was hoping to create more texture on my hairline because I thought with the sponge it would be thicker. Taking this down because I'm gonna try and make like a crescent. I'm going to take this Krylon stick that I have in white. I'm going to excited for the weekend. I have a lot of filming energy. Tomorrow I'm gonna film a tag video, and then the next, and also the book review portions. The video, oh god damn. So far it isn't bad. I think I'm gonna set it and go in with some powders just to darken that black because it's not nearly as black as I want it. I feel like kiss or something. Haley, why are you being so silly? Jeez, man. I've done 2 other looks face painted, like, you know, not skin colored before. I haven't filmed them because I'm not good at it. And I just need to accept that I need to learn, just like I learned makeup, and it's just a new technique. I need to do it in front of the camera with you guys. Maybe you guys are more experienced at it than I am, and you can give me points. I feel like I left like my brow, like I feel like I left my glue out or something, cause I had to like cut a chunk of it off. Like I've watched tons and tons of brow cover-ups, and they never, like my glue, where is it? So my glue lid is cracked, and it was super dry at the top, so I had to like cut it off. But like, you guys see that? That just keeps getting stuck in my brows. And I've never seen anybody else, like, they use the purple kind. I've never seen like it get as chunky as mine did. And it was like on first application, like I couldn't even get it into my brows for the most part because it was just gumming up as I was working it into my brows. So I feel like there was something, like either it's dried out or there's like a chemical reaction that happened. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if I should just set this with translucent powder and then go in and put all of the eyeshadow powder on top of it. You know, I know what I was gonna do. I know why this doesn't look right. So I was gonna bring, I'm such a dingus. I was gonna bring like half of my forehead black, and then I was going to make the tail ends of the moon, and then I was going to like makeup remover out the black, a line, like the back line, and I was gonna put a white line in it. We're too far gone, guys. We have to adapt. I look very scary. But I wanted to challenge myself. I want to get into more creative looks like this. And, you know, learning and trial and error is part of this process. So it's all fine. It's all dandy. So the white I'm going to be using, and I am going to do the white first, is from my Robbie Christie palette, Lumos. It's a very pigmented white, and I'm just hoping that this gives me more coverage and help with the pink on my skin tone that is still coming through, especially around my eyes. Now I'm going to wipe off my brush. I have 2 blacks in my palette. I have Nightfall in my Smitten in Switzerland palette, and Stiletto in my Temptress palette. So I don't know which one's darker, so I'm just going to take both of them. I'm just going to start putting that on where I put my black and pressing that into my hair. So you really can't see, hopefully, where my hair is, and oh yeah, that's so much better. That's helping a lot. I think the Nightfall one is darker. I'm adapting. Since my brow cover up is so bad, I'm going to do a drag trick and cover it up with glitter and shimmer. And hopefully it works. So I am going to try and do like another crescent moon shape. So like following my eyebrows into my nose and down this way. Is it gonna look good? I don't know. I don't know yet. So I'm just putting some glitter glue and doing one side at a time. Going in with Hot and Fresh from my Blueberry Muffin palette. It's a silver, and I think that it will go well. Taking that on a dense brush going over my brows. I think that is solving the problem. Maybe not completely erasing my mistake. I'm happy with that. I think it's good. I wanted it to be black and gold and white and tiers of stars, but I don't think that that's gonna happen. We've already had to readjust. So I think I'm just taking Venus from my Goddess palette. I think I'm almost done. I'm going to do a couple more metallic. Yeah. I just gouged my finger in this lipstick. Jeez. I'm using this little brush just because I've used this on my eyes, and I'll probably continue to use it on my eyes. I'm gonna do just a little coat of mascara, I guess. Anyway, and I'm actually going to just do my upper lip and then I'm going to overline it. Why am I doing this in this mirror? You can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to extend my corners out a little bit. I feel like my face is too masculine right now, and I want it more androgynous. So I'm trying to think of how to feminize the face more. So this is my finished look. I don't know how this is gonna go in editing. So if you see this, tell me how it looks. I am really proud of myself for adapting. This isn't anywhere near what I wanted, but I'm really proud of myself for getting it done and not getting frustrated with myself and kind of realizing that I'm not going to be perfect right off the bat with a new technique, and I need to accept that. And is this probably going to be the first time that you guys see me in crazy makeup? Probably, because I feel confident enough in my look to put this out to you guys. I didn't even film the other 2 times that I did something with my face painted. Um, I loved every minute of trying to figure this out. Please forgive my awful brow cover up. I'm going to try and figure out what's wrong with my glue and get that sorted out. I was going for like an androgynous moon god goddess kind of thing. So I wanted my bangs and like my half of my hair like slicked back. So it was kind of like, I don't know, androgynous vibes. I feel like my face is more masculine than I was hoping to do, but that's okay. I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope you guys liked my book report on the Serpents Secret. It was a amazing book to start the year with. This is a good look to start this series with, and I couldn't be more proud of myself. I challenge you guys, if there's something that you want to do, like if you guys want to do more experimental makeup, if you guys if there's something in your guys' life that you want to do but you're afraid of not being perfect, like just go for it. I have those fears all the time, hence why I didn't come on camera and do this for the first time and never have touched my cream products ever. Like, this is the 3rd or 4th time that I've done something like this with my face because I was afraid of looking utterly stupid in front of you guys. And do I still look stupid? Yes, but that's okay, because we all start somewhere, and this is where I'm starting with you guys. And I hope that there is more books and a look in my future. I just finished another book, so you guys go have a great evening or morning, whatever time it is when you're watching this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!